Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monkey in the Morning. I'm your host, the Ranting Monkey, and I hope you're ready for Hump Day, you guys. It's time to get your hump on. It's Humpin' Day, I think. It's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday. I'm not wrong. Yeah, I'm right. Okay. I hate when I start to second guess myself at the end there. Like, shit, what was it? Anyway, yeah, I hope you're having a good Wednesday. We got some debate coverage to go over. Gotta go over the debate last night. Another doozy, you guys. Another doozy. I didn't get a thumbnail made for this one. I was lazy. Sorry. I was I was playing a video game. I actually wasn't planning on doing a show. I was going to take the night off, just play a video game and go to bed early. And you know how going to bed works for me. So here we are. And yeah, so I'm still lazy. And I forgot to take my medicine. God damn, sorry about that. The debate. Oh, man. This wasn't just the South Carolina debate. Most of the debates we've had recently have come right in front of an election, or well, a primary, a caucus. And each of them have had their own. But this is the last debate until Super Tuesday. So you have the South Carolina primary coming up here on the 29th, this Saturday. And then just a few days later, on the 3rd, we have Super Tuesday, when a whole bunch of delegates get thrown out, and we're going to see some candidates drop like flies, because we still have too many of them in here. There's too many in the race. We should be down to 2 or 3 by now. That's not to say they have to drop out. I mean, by all means, if people are giving you money to waste, that's your business, I guess. It's between you and them. But it's hurting their chances against Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders kept coming out there and talking about how popular his platform was. It's very popular with the Democrats. And Elizabeth Warren also, look, very popular with the Democrats. Real quick, before we started, towels. Thank you so much for the donation with the thumbs up and the little pair there. I almost forgot it. I saw it, and then I just almost forgot to mention it. Thank you so very much. It's very kind of you. Yeah, they kept talking about how popular. It's popular. It's a very popular program. If you guys watch this, Bernie and Liz got booed quite often. I have never seen either of them actually booed before. Maybe people didn't clap when they thought they would, but there was some serious booing. It's like, damn. And quite a bit of cheering for Bloomberg, quite a bit of cheering for Pete and Joe. Not much for Steyer or Klobuchar. Those two didn't even need to be there. They were mostly irrelevant. Klobuchar at the beginning, oh man, it was like the first 15 minutes they didn't even call on her. Just kept ignoring that she was even there. And every so often they would do a side shot of the debate stage, because most of the shots are just in front of whoever's talking and whoever they're talking about, maybe, or whoever started talking about them, so they're responding, that kind of crap. But every so often they do one from the side where you could see all of them. And you could see her down there just getting angrier and angrier. Just like, damn, Amy, calm down. Or stop being such a wuss and get out there and get in the fight. It was much of what we expected. Lots of people going after Bernie and his dumbass proposals. Bernie suggesting that look, we paid for everything. Don't worry about it. Everything's paid for. I didn't bring up even any stories about this. I'm trying to remember the most important parts of the debate, but I'm not sure that there were any really important parts of the debate. I don't know. In the last debate, I don't want to say important, but what's the word I'm looking for? Sensational part of the debate, the stuff that was going to be all the headlines and did turn out to be all the headlines, was Elizabeth Warren attacking Michael Bloomberg. And she didn't help herself with that, but she hurt him a little bit. Excuse me. Um, this time, I can't really think of anything that was, there was a lot of jabs back and forth, a lot of them yelling at each other about this and that, and Bernie again whining that Pete took billionaire money and Pete finally standing up for himself like a man, kind of. Bernie was allowed to kind of run roughshod over the stage. They really allowed the old people to yell. Bernie and Liz, they spent a lot of their time just screaming. I don't know why Liz was so upset, other than the fact that she's probably able to see it all slipping away. South Carolina is definitely not going for her, which makes her 0 for 4. And she hasn't finished in the top 2 in any of them. She probably won't finish in the top 2 here. It'll probably be Biden and Sanders. We don't know that for sure, but that's what the polls have been showing. And I think Biden did good enough today to not hurt himself. There were a few times where Joe tripped over his words, but hell, I've been doing that since I started today. Ellie Bell, thank you so much. Warren attacks him, not Bernie. She wants to be VP. I think she's desperately trying to show, thank you for the donation. I think she's desperately trying to show that she can take on Donald Trump. She said that before the last debate, the first one that Bloomberg was in. And she said, look, you're going to get to see how we would treat Donald Trump. She didn't say it in those words. She actually said, you get to see how we will treat an egotistical billionaire or a billionaire egotist. I can't remember which way she said it. But she's trying to show, look, I can go out there and beat people. Yay. And it's not coming off well. She did okay in the last debate, but this time it looked like she was just, trying to take on Bloomberg. She made Bloomberg look more powerful than he actually is within the party right now by going after him again instead of going after Bernie. Bernie is your front runner. He's the one you should go after. And the closest she came to that is like, me and Bernie, we're like really good friends. We disagree on some things, but it's only just a little bit of things because I've really basically stolen his platform. Is there anything I can buy for you guys so I can get you to vote for me? She didn't actually go after Bernie. Everybody else was like going for blood, man. And did you hear about Warren running for Senate? Warren, no. I heard about Joe doing it. She tries too hard. Yeah, that's the problem, Ellie. It's almost like if she was a man, I would think she had a tiny PP. I would think she had a really tiny PP. She was trying to compensate for something. And maybe it's because she has that nub instead of a PP. But it's like, I can hang with the big boys. Like, you don't have to be a cunt. She's got penis envy, like horribly so. And once again, Mayor Pete came off like he was going to be the grown-up in the room until Joe Biden outgrown-upped him. Joe kept making a couple of saucy remarks about the way the debate was being handled. And about how there's one part because everybody just kept talking over their time. And Joe was visibly annoyed with this and even had already said something about this, but he's in the middle of giving an answer and he stops himself. And then he goes, I don't know why I'm stopping myself. Nobody else does. And it could have come off as bitchy, and maybe it did to some people. But for me, I was like, oh shit, he just called y'all a bunch of children. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. Is Bloomberg still wanting Hillary as his running mate? I don't know if he's talked about it since he floated that. I think he just floated that idea to try to get support. I think that was a cynical attempt at stealing support. It was to keep his name in the paper. He's trying to do a Donald Trump. Donald Trump is very good at just keeping his name in the paper. And Bloomberg is trying really hard to be Donald Trump. These two have some kind of rivalry going on. I have a theory that they have a bet going. A $1 bet like they did in Trading Places. It's just a who's actually right kind of bet. And to see if Bloomberg could actually beat Trump. Because Bloomberg's a good politician. Don't for a second think he's not a good politician. I'm not saying he's a good person, a good candidate, a good politician. But he's a New York politician. Hillary, even though she was technically she was the candidate from New York, she's not from New York. She's from fucking Arkansas. New York politics tends to get kind of dirty. And it showed tonight. Right before the show that we did, Scribe had asked us, what we're looking for. I said, you might see Bloomberg come out on the attack. Because everybody's written Bloomberg off. And I told you guys this. I told you, don't write him off. It was one debate. Yes, the beginning of the last debate, he got smothered by Warren's crap. But the rest of that debate, go back and watch it. If you don't have to believe me, go back and actually watch it from the first commercial on. He did really well. If you're going to, Snubsters says Adonis is playing on the new map on Steam. Do you and Satsu plan on trying it out? I have it. I will be playing on Genesis. I don't know if he plans to. I don't have any plans of streaming it right now. But Bloomberg is not out of this race. It's like he's buying it. So what do the other ones do? The only difference between Bloomberg and all of the other candidates is he's spending his own money. Everybody else is trying to buy the race. He just has more money to spend on it. Now, it was funny. Oh, thank you, Tactical Tony. I am enjoying the clusterfuck that is the DNC. Oh, man. I don't think they did very well for themselves at all tonight. I think Bloomberg won this debate. And I only say that by default, really. He had a pretty good showing again before the first commercial. And then after that, it was just nonsense for most of the rest of the time. But Bloomberg did have one mistake that was kind of funny, where he accidentally said that he bought the House of Representatives that got in there that made Nancy Pelosi the speaker. I bought them. I mean, I pushed for them. Whoops. No, you said it right the first time. You went in there and bought them, apparently. And it was even funnier because earlier in the debate, Elizabeth Warren was chastising Bloomberg for having given money to Republicans. Dun, dun, dun. Republicans in past debates. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, no. Bloomberg's given money to a shit ton of people. He's been a billionaire for a while, and he's been throwing money around in politics for a while. And then he became a governor, or sorry, not governor, the mayor of New York City, and still wanted to press his goals. So he's always given money to candidates, sometimes Republicans and sometimes Democrats. And lately it's been mostly Democrats, including in 2018, when he basically paid for the blue wave. There's so many people out there like George Soros. We have our own Soros right here. His name is Michael Bloomberg. The only difference is Michael's actually American, so he can run for our elected office, for our highest office in the land, where George has to do things behind the scenes with political action committees and stuff. But much of what you saw happen in 2018, Michael Bloomberg was the architect of. If you're a Democrat, Bloomberg should be your guy. Bloomberg is a racist idiot. Yes, he is. That should not stop a Democrat. I mean, it's not like they don't like, I mean, racists have been Democrats for a long time. But yeah, this is the architect of 2018. He's the reason that the changes happened. You were likely going to see them win seats. It ended up being 41 seats. Out of it's going to be 60 plus. It wasn't even that. But yeah, he's the reason. He has supported a lot of your candidates. He's even given money to some of the people that were on that stage. You notice some of them get real quiet when they start talking about how much money he's given to candidates. Like, shh, don't look over here. I'm just looking at the Washington Post, the front page over here, and there's only three names from the debate. Rivals pepper Sanders with barrage of attacks during a raucous debate. And then you have another one with Sanders' name. Sanders takes fire in an unruly debate that left no candidate truly enhanced, which I do agree with. Jonathan, thank you so much. Elizabeth Warren will be the DNC pick. Also, can you say Cytotron? I can't usually say Cy's name. Is that you? Hey, Cytotron. I always say your name wrong. Why are you gonna fuck with me like that? You know I do. But anyway, thank you so much. I don't think anybody won this debate. Bloomberg's as close as it got. But then the other name in a headline here is Bloomberg improves from his last debate. But is it enough? We're going to talk about Bloomberg for just a moment. Bloomberg didn't have to do well in this debate either. Not real well. Bloomberg is still out there buying tons of ads. Bloomberg is not in the election this Saturday. He's not on the ballot in South Carolina. He might get some write-in votes, but he's not on the ballot. All he did here tonight was take energy away from the people who are. Get in a couple of shots at the people who are. By the time it comes, we don't go, well, I don't know when Michigan's is, but Super Tuesday is a week away. The stuff from this debate won't even be news anymore because we'll have whatever happens Saturday coming up that'll take over the news cycle. All Bloomberg has to do is hang in there. He gets to get his name out there more nationally. He gets to come out there and spout some things that he thinks will help him. Just go back to running his commercials and see what happens on Super Tuesday. He got to take a couple of good shots at the Democrats themselves. Like, why did you wait so long to get in? Well, I waited and I saw what you guys were putting up and decided if we put these people up, Trump's going to win. That's not a bad line. And now he can use that in his fucking ads that he's going to run all over. Love you, Ranting Monkey, but you are wrong here. Bloomer is gone. I'm not saying he's going to win it all. I'm saying that neither debate has really hurt him. And if you don't believe me, go look at 538.com. Type into your chat or your search bar 538 space polls and click on the one that says Democrat polls and go to South Carolina where he's not even on the fucking ballot and check out how he's doing and how that debate last week didn't affect him at all. The only thing that's keeping me from believing outright that Michael Bloomberg is a spoiler is how much money he spent. I think he wants to be a serious candidate. I think he does. He just got into the race too. He was stupid waiting to get into the race. You lose too much momentum by not being in the first four races, especially not being in the first two. And he had the money to have done it and just to sat in there and slapped these guys around. He could have taken that first beating way back in October? When was the first debate? I forget now. It's been a while. Could have taken that first beating. It would have all been done, and he'd be well on his way to the nomination with this group. With this group, Jesus. Ellie Bell says, truth is, a lot of voters don't watch the debates. That's true. That's true. More people will see his commercials than will watch that debate. That's just fact. He has flooded markets with those fucking commercials everywhere. He still hasn't made enough of an inroad anywhere that we've seen to win, but maybe he's trying to get Bernie elected. Maybe he is playing spoiler in that effect. But yeah, I don't think this debate is going to hurt him at all. He'll probably inch up a couple of spaces. I haven't looked at any of the other Super Tuesday states. Who is all going on Super Tuesday? Let's just check a Super Tuesday. March 3rd. What states are going? What states are in Super Tuesday? Alabama, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas. Why isn't California in here? Is this not this year? And it says Vermont and Virginia. California is supposed to be going on Super Tuesday this year. Yeah, okay, this is a different list. Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina. That must have been from a different year. Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Virginia. Let's see. He's not going to do very well in California. He's not going to do very well. Well, let's see how he does in Texas. His gun control thing, even with Democrats down there in Texas, I can't believe would be doing very well. All right. Let's see. Oh no, he's creeping up there. He's between second and third in Texas for the aggregated polls over there on 538. He did take a little bit of a beating from last week, but not enough to drop him into fourth. And Warren, what little bumps she got, came right back down. Wow. What were some of the other ones? How's he doing in California? Let's see California. Third place in California, Colorado. This one doesn't have very much data. Is he even on here? Still got Booker on their last poll. Wow. Y'all should update that shit. I know Utah was one of them. How's he doing in Utah? That's the same poll as the other one. All right. So yeah, some of them don't have polls for the individual states, but he's bought his way to third, guys. He's bought his way to third. That's not too bad, man. He's going to spend upwards of $1 billion of his own dollars in primary. Good job, dummy. For a third place. Anyway, let's see. Winners and losers from South Carolina, as told to us by the Washington Post. Wow. Their number one winner is Elizabeth Warren. I could not disagree more with that. I thought she looked horrible. When it comes to debate performances spanning the past 2 weeks, Warren's have been the strongest. She built a case for being a general election candidate against Trump last week by taking the bark off of Mike Bloomberg. See? That's all it was about. That's why she's going after him. So I can stand up to a man. And she followed it up with a studied and detailed performance on Tuesday. Warren picked up where she left off with Bloomberg by pointing to his past support for Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham and former Senator Scott Brown, whom she defeated in the 2012 Senate race. She again argued that Bloomberg had not sufficiently addressed the treatment of women at his company and went after him for doing business in China. None of those give anyone a reason to elect her other than saying she's willing to play dirty. Was this written by a woman? I don't know. It's Aaron Blake. No, that's a dude. Well, Did that used to be a chick? Kind of looks like maybe. I don't want to be mean here, but he looks very feminine. Aaron Blake, you guys can look him up and decide for yourselves. He looks rather feminine for a dude. But yeah, all she did was bitch and moan. She didn't give anybody really a reason to. She almost came off as begging the few times she did try to sell what she was going to do, and even then, she wouldn't be specific. And she had the nerve to bring up not being able to keep her job because she had a baby. A proven fucking lie based on her own fucking words that are on fucking tape. We have the videotape, Miss Warren, of you saying that you decided not to go back, as well as the actual notes from the group when they decided to unanimously offer you your job for another year. But who are we supposed to believe? You or our lying eyes? See, if it was just one or the other side, okay, you can pick which story to believe. But they have the fucking notes where they decided, yes, we're going to give her another year on her contract. She's the one who decided not to run. She's a fucking liar. And nobody up on that stage had the balls to call her out. So you know what? Maybe she does have a bigger dick than the guys up there. I don't know. But that was sad. I can't believe not a single one of those little fucks had the balls to call her out for lying. I'd have asked her straight up. We have the evidence. You are a known liar. But she had to play the whammons card, and old Aaron here thought it was great. Aaron, you're kind of a cuck, man. She was perhaps less forceful with Sanders, saying instead that she would be a better president and going after his staff. I dug in, I did the work, and then Bernie's team trashed me for it, she said. We need a president who's going to dig in, do the hard work, and actually get it done. One wonders whether she did much to help herself, especially given that last week's debate didn't seem to do much for her. But after the past couple of weeks, she will at least remain on voters' radars. People know who she is, dipshit. How do you call her a winner when you can't say, okay, look. He's saying over the last 2 weeks, she's been the best. No, she wasn't even the best last week. She was just the little pit bull. I have not seen polls where she's gone up after last week's debate. Not one. I've seen them where she's gone down, where she had been going up and then went down, but I haven't seen anywhere. And I'm not saying they don't exist. See, I have to be careful with this because somebody the other day, like, how come Monkey says this? Please pay attention to the actual wording I use. I haven't seen. Doesn't mean they don't exist. But just on the ones I've seen, she didn't help herself at all. You're saying that for the last 2 weeks, she's been the best. No. She's been the bitchiest. Sounds like maybe she needs to get some of that artificial female lube and put it down there. Maybe stuff is rubbing and irritating a little bit. But she hasn't done anything to help herself. Like even in this, she didn't go after Bernie. I dug in, I did the hard work, and his team trashed it. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you just going to whine that everybody else stopped you from getting stuff done? Seriously. But no one needs to attack Warren, which is the same reason Bernie copped it all last night. I'm not sure how you mean copped it all. But yeah, this was a bad performance for her. At least last week she came off as, she's the one that knocked Bloomberg down a peg. She didn't really score anything against him tonight. She tried to. All right, next up is for a winner, Joe Biden. Yeah. Silverback says Bernie was the easy target. Bernie's the top target. You don't try to take out second place so you can be second place. Not unless you have conceded that all you're interested in is the vice presidency. Joe Biden, he has regularly been a loser on this list, and he was again somewhat uneven on Tuesday night. But he's the leading candidate in South Carolina and a player on Super Tuesday on March 3rd, and he seemed likely to continue to be after the debate. Well, I marked Biden up as a win on this one, but not necessarily because of how good he did, but how bad he wasn't. Does that make sense? He's receives a bashing. Gotcha, Silverback. Okay. But no, Biden, like last week, I had Biden as a loser because he was entirely irrelevant. He might as well have not been on the stage, even though he got decent speaking time, but nobody gave a shit about what he said. He said nothing of substance. They were asked tonight, each of them, what is your motto? And his really should have been, Barack made me do it. That has been all he said on the debate stage since the first debate. Barack had me go do that and do this and do that. But tonight, I mean, he got in a couple of the things that made them look like they were acting childish, because they are. And RJ, stop hitting on the chicks in the chat. And he didn't have like horrible answers. He had that one stumble where, but otherwise he didn't do much to hurt himself. And like this guy said, he's in the lead in South Carolina. He has been ever since he announced. And I think he did enough, or I might even say that the others did enough to bring Bernie down, that he might end up winning this one, 5 to 10 points. I'm not positive, but close. Anyway, where are we at? He noted his work to secure funding for Charleston's port, and he talked about gentrification in a way we haven't heard much in the nominating contest so far. Biden detracted from his performance a little by, again, repeatedly complaining about not getting enough time and blaming his Catholic upbringing for his obedience to the rules about the lengthy answers. Do you not get a joke? One, he repeatedly complained. He complained about not getting enough time once. Repeatedly, he complained about the other people not following the rules, and he made a joke about it being his Catholic upbringing. He didn't blame it. He was just like, maybe, and even was it Gayle King is like, you had a good upbringing. God, this guy's a douche. I wonder who he's voting for. One thing to keep an eye on, though, when asked whether he would press on if he doesn't win South Carolina, he said he would. At this point, he better. Or what? You're going to beat him up? Joe really should retire. He shouldn't be running. This is the last winner, Bloomberg's transparency about his money. There's a kind of an unspoken bargain at play with Mike Bloomberg. It goes something like this. I may only have become a Democrat in 2018. I may not be your ideal, but I can win. And oh, by the way, I have hundreds of millions of dollars from my own pocket to spend. Well, on Tuesday, that bargain came closer to being spoken. Early on, Bloomberg pitched himself by saying, I have the experience, I have the resources, and I have the record. Later, he noted he spent $100 million to help elect House Democrats in 2018. But for a moment, he almost seemed to say that he bought something with that money. He actually did say he bought. He caught himself and corrected it. And in between, his ads appeared during the commercial breaks. See, we were watching on online, so we didn't see the commercials. But he's not wrong. He's literally bought himself into this race, and he has the money to keep doing it. Losers, Senator Bernie Sanders. Yeah, Bernie did not look good. I don't think it's going to matter much with his base, but again, his base isn't that big in the party. It's less than 50% of what the party is made up of. This is why he would have lost an honest election against Hillary. It's also why he would have lost an honest race against Donald Trump. He would have got the absolute shit kicked out of him, Bernie Bros. And the sadness that's going to come if he wins this nomination and loses to Trump like he's going to is the sadness you guys would have had 4 years ago and saved yourself this trauma of 4 years of hoping and lying to yourselves. I have a feeling you're going to see a spike in male suicide rates after Bernie loses the general election if he's nominated. Just going to throw that out there. Because Bernie Bro's going to just be jumping off bridges left and right. After the candidates spent much of last week's debate focused on Bloomberg, even as Sanders is threatening to take over the race, Tuesday night represented a course correction. Warren attacked Sanders for being ineffective. Pete Buttigieg said Russia is helping Sanders, as U.S. intelligence has stated, because the senator serves its purpose. Russia wants chaos, and chaos is what's coming our way, Buttigieg said. Imagine spending the better part of 2020 with Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. You know what? I want to talk about that because it was amazing. It's like Pete doesn't understand what party he's running for. Like he doesn't understand. It's not just Bernie Bros who are crazy. They're just a special subset of the Democrat crazy. Most Democrats want to see absolute chaos in this election. They do not want a candidate who's going to go up there and be cordial to Donald Trump, which is what Mayor Pete basically said would happen if he's the nominee. Like, we need somebody who's going to go up there and then civil discourse is going to be kind. Yeah, Donald Trump's going to bitch slap you on stage, man. He's going to call you a power bottom. Watch. And he'll be, no, I meant that, the bottom of the heap. Oh. Where we at? Tom Steyer warned about having the government take over the private sector, except for the parts that Tom would like to do that with. Biden mentioned the mass shooting in the Black Charleston Church in 2015 and noted that Sanders vetoed against the Brady gun control bill 5 times, which prompted Sanders to acknowledge that it was a mistake. What? No. That was a different conversation where did he admit voting against Brady was a mistake? He admitted voting against voting for immunity for gun control was a mistake, or for gun manufacturers was a mistake. Am I remembering that? I know the last part is right. Did he also do that with the Brady bill? I don't remember that. Huh. I'll have to watch again. Yeah, because he said it was a mistake. Oh, no. Okay. Maybe I am remembering that wrong. Yeah, because when it came, you're right, dude. You're right. Because when it came time to talk about that part, about the voting for immunity for gun manufacturers, I swear he said that was a mistake, but then he never actually explained. Anyhow, either way, yeah, Bernie was kind of vague when it came to guns, other than to pretend he was going to be hard on crime. Later on, Biden and Buttigieg ganged up on Sanders for praising over the decade the good things that authoritarian socialist regimes had done. It prompted Sanders to say early on, "I'm hearing my name mentioned a little bit. I wonder why." Indeed, the question is whether it's too late by his opponents. Yeah, it was kind of actually it wasn't a good look. You can come out there and be a little bit smug, especially if you're the leading candidate. But I don't think it looked good on Bernie. That's the kind of thing Pete could probably pull off because he's just a arrogant, smug-looking shithead anyway. But it probably played well with Sanders, with Bernie Bros and Bernie hosts. They were probably like, haha, that's right. Our bitch is in top, motherfucker. That's just how I assume they talk. Anyhow, Mike Bloomberg is also a loser. It just wasn't much better than last week, which isn't good. Bloomberg did little to make an affirmative case for himself. Nobody in this debate did a very good job of making an affirmative case for themselves. That's just true. If that's your standard, then they're all losers. And he offered mealy-mouthed rebuttals to some of the attacks against him, including, again, downplaying the women who complained about their treatment at his companies. Bloomberg said he was probably wrong to make jokes, but added, I didn't remember what they are. He called it a comment or two. Oh, you disingenuous shit. Now, this part I do remember. Because people were talking over it as I was listening. I was like, no, guys, here's what he finished saying. So what he finished saying there, he said, he was asked if he was wrong. He said he was probably wrong to make those jokes, that he didn't remember what they are, but if they offended the people involved, then yes, he was wrong to say them. That's a little bit different than leaving off that, yes, I was wrong to say them, isn't it? That's our Bloomberg is their new whipping boy, which I bet makes Bernie feel a lot better because he used to be their whipping boy. But now it's old poor Mike. Bloomberg has released 3 women from non-disclosure agreements and said the company would not use them going forward. But as Warren noted, he hasn't released all of them. Yeah, and he also explained that as well. He did indeed. The moderators are the other losers. There were 2 big problems here. One was that this was a complete free-for-all for much of the debate, with candidates talking over one another and with no one enforcing the rules. I don't necessarily disagree there. That's true. And I would love to make the joke and go, it's because there were 2 women in charge. You can't put women in charge. I'm just kidding. Women are fine. But the truth of the matter is, I don't know how they would enforce it. The only thing I can think of, and I'm not sure how well it will work, they can't cut off the people replying, or replying to answers, or replying directly to the questions. Yes, I meant replying to answers. When their name comes up, they're allowed to respond. I didn't pull a Biden on that one. But the only thing I could think that these guys could actually do is to, okay, Senator Sanders, this question is for you. And when he starts to talk, they press his microphone button and it goes off. I think they got 1 minute and 15 seconds. And then when 1 minute and 15's up, it just cuts off. Because if they cut off people's mics, then they get claims of bias. So I'm really not sure how they would deal with it otherwise. So it's kind of, they were bad moderators. They didn't moderate this debate worth of shit. But there comes a point, I mean, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I don't feel like I'm trying not to be too nice to the moderators, because 1, they were shitty moderators, and 2, I don't like these people. They're your regular news entertainers, as Polly would call them, your news entertainers, shitbags. However, what are they supposed to do? Frank Hubbard, shock collars. I would support that program. I really do think they should have something like a timer that automatically shuts off their mic. And if they finish somehow before the mic or their time is up, then you can shut it off yourself. But otherwise, I'm just not sure how you do it, because eventually the campaigns are going to scream, "Hey, you were mean to us. Why did you shut up?" And we had that with Yang in the first debate. Was it that his mic wasn't working for a while? So you got to be careful with anything where you're cutting off mics. Now, the other thing, Danger says, have a giant countdown clock. They don't need that. They have special podiums that are see-through. And you can see this as the audience. When we're looking at it, on the left-hand side, their right hand, there's these lights They go all the way up and down the podium that are blue when they're allowed to talk and turn red when their time is over and they don't pay attention. Having a giant clock wouldn't help. You know what I think they should have? Here's the Ranting Monkey debate moderation program. Behind each of them is a person standing with a newspaper. And we have just a little tiny buzzer. And if their time goes up and they're still talking, whack, they get whacked with a newspaper, as they should. I think it would make it really quick, really easy, very little pain, and funny because it makes that loud whack without making without a whole lot of pain. We got to be careful. You don't want to beat up old people. These are some old people, man. I think the only one who wouldn't die from that would be Pete. It sent Amy spiraling back through menopause. Let's see. Playing loose can work when it means the candidates actually debate, but many times on Tuesday night, they were just allowed to talk past moderators and game the system. The Washington Post, John Dawsey, that's very close to Downsy. Oh, Josh, put it well. Turn their mics off. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the only other thing you could do. And second, speaking of gaming the system, was the booing and cheering were out of control. There's a reason many debates prohibit outward shows of support or dissent, because it encourages people to stock the room and play to the camera. We don't yet know whether that happened Tuesday, but Bloomberg supporters were especially vocal, and Sanders found himself booed a surprising amount given he's competing for a win in South Carolina. That is a dirty charge to make because Sanders and Warren were booed. Warren was booed far more than Sanders was. So maybe it was the Bloomberg crowd. But on the other hand, Pete, Amy, and Joe all got positive responses. The only thing that didn't get positive responses was when they started talking about socialist shit that nobody wants. Dragon Mage, thank you. Put them in a gladiator arena. I don't think any of these guys could get past the breastplate. And those are just straps in a gladiator arena. No, and just shut them up. Turn it off their mic. Have it, and like I said, put it on a timer so that when that timer is up, it's not our fault anymore. You had your time, mic is off. And you know what you could also do? Put them in little soundproof booths. They can hear sound. We'll pump the sound into them, but nobody else can hear them until we turn on their mic. And then that way we don't have to worry about them talking over each other. Like, you were addressed, you can respond. You were addressed, you can respond. They actually helped Bernie out quite a few times, twice with Pete Buttigieg when Pete was going after him. The second time was probably the most important one, and Pete tried to come back to it later, but it had already lost its meaning by that point. Bernie's like, you want to call this radical? You want to call it, is it radical to do this and this and this? It wasn't even his turn to be speaking, but he just lost his fucking shit. And Pete's like, yeah, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about these things. Let's discuss what you're saying. And Bernie wouldn't shut the fuck up. And they just let him ramble. And then they changed the subject and let his rambling stay out there. Okay, where else are we? Yeah, so that's the end of it, of their winners and losers. I do think it's weird that they've never had well, let me rephrase that. This is the first time I've ever seen anybody in this election cycle write about how much booing there may have been. So this is one of those, I want to be careful. The first time I've ever seen one of them do that. And it's weird that it's only after Bernie's getting booed. Ellie Bell, thank you so much again. How about when Bernie got mad at the audience? Yeah, that was great. He actually, because this is like the third or fourth time he's been booed. And he starts talking about his shit. I don't even remember what he was talking about this time. But he goes into the middle of his answer and he starts getting booed. And he stops and kind of gives the audience a dirty look. And like, no, it's true. It's true. Like I said, I don't even remember exactly what it was. It was funny as shit, man. Yeah, I don't think anybody won. In the first in the first portion of the debate, I thought Bloomberg helped himself, especially after how bad last week was. But like I said, nobody's going to remember this debate when they go to vote on March 3rd. We have, it's a week away. That's a lifetime in politics. Check my stream. Why is my Streamlabs not alerting me? I'm sorry, Evolved Potato. Oh, I have a couple. I'm so sorry. Evolved Potato, thank you. The shot collar idea is pretty good. If you go over your time, you get shocked. If you go under half your time, everyone else gets shocked. And James Colley, thank you. Chief, we're going to need the cone of silence. We got to be careful saying chief. Just kidding. I did like Elizabeth Warren up there talking about how she was going to earn the trust of the people. And then right after that, she lied about her baby. Not about her baby. I'm sorry. About losing her job because of her baby. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't get alerts for either of those. I'm so sorry, gentlemen. Apparently, Streamlabs is only notifying me of YouTube tonight. What else do we have here that I'm curious about this one. Fact-checking the 10th Democratic debate. The headline actually says candidates largely kept sketchy claims in check. Largely. You guys want to take bets on whether or not they bring up Elizabeth Warren and her getting fired? I'm going to bet not. Let's see. The 10th presidential blah, blah, blah. Who is this one? Michael Bloomberg. I got into this race only 10 or 12 weeks ago. We've been working on our tax returns. I've said they'll be out. When I was mayor of New York, we had our tax returns out 12 years in a row. And businessman Tom Steyer responded, I released my tax returns. Yeah, that was easy to do. The two billionaires in the Democratic primary were not as transparent as their tax returns as they let on in the remarks. Bloomberg, who is ranked the 10th richest person in the world by Forbes, never released his tax returns while he was mayor in the traditional sense of the word. Instead, he allowed reporters to view redacted versions of his returns for a few hours every year. Traditionally, candidates for high office in New York and around the country release full, unredacted versions of their returns for public consumption. So there's a big difference between that and what Bloomberg did. One year, when a reporter rolled in a photocopy machine to the viewing room, the photocopy machine got the heave-ho. Somebody took a photocopy. You knew you weren't going to be allowed to do that. It's taking your fucking cell phone. Steyer has released his tax returns showing he earns more than $1 billion over 9 years, but he withheld nearly every page that showed where all his money came from. Nice. Thank you, Frank. Tie the Zap collar onto a timer and a lie detector with a button for not answering the question. Hours of amusement. Well, you know what? There were times that they didn't answer the question where there was no reason not to. There's some, specifically Liz and Bernie, and Amy. I'll throw her in there too. Liz, Bernie, and Amy have a really bad problem of trying to fit their whole fucking stump speech into any goddamn answer they're given. Doesn't matter what the question is. Like, what'd you have for cereal today? Well, we're gonna give Medicare for all, and we're gonna have pre-K where they'll probably have some cereal. No, what'd you have for breakfast? What was the question? They cannot seem to fucking answer a simple fucking question. And it is really annoying. And for the most part, the moderators let them get away with it. The only time I saw them not do that tonight, or that I bothered to remember, was a question to Elizabeth Warren. I don't remember what it was. It was late in the debate. And after she gave her long ass answer, I think it was Gayle King. Was that a yes? And she goes, yes. Yeah. Or are you saying yes? I don't think she said, is that a yes? All shitty like I just did. She should have, though. But she did verify that it had been a yes. Let's see. We have a criminal justice system today that is not only broken, it is racist, got more people in jail than any other country on earth, including China, said Senator Bernie Sanders. Sanders is referring to the official figures that indicate the United States has a prison population of 2.1 million and 1.7 million for China. But beyond sentenced prisoners, the World Prison Brief says more than 650,000 people are being held in Chinese detention centers, which would bring China's prison population to at least 2.35. But even that is probably a low estimate. It is alleged that between 1 to 1.5 million ethnic, I forget how to say this, Uyghurs, Uyghurs, that's the Muslims over there, and other minorities in Xinjiang may have been arbitrarily forced into these facilities where they've been allegedly allegations of death in custody, physical and psychological abuse and torture, as well as lack of access to medical care. Yeah, these are the China concentration camps. But yes, a nation of 1 billion people only has a prison population of 1.6 million. They're a really well-behaved country. You know why? Because much like Cuba, all you got to do is shoot them, and then they're not a prisoner, are they? You take them out back and put a bullet in their head, you don't have to count them among your prison population. I love when we take numbers from Chinese, like the Chinese, the Cubans, when they told us how great their hospitals were. Some oppressive regime that doesn't actually let other countries go in and look, and we're just going to we'll take your word for it. Hey, I actually got a notification that time. Thank you, James Colley. Well, women and old Jew men have special privilege. Hashtag reform the 19th. Hashtag poly is still wrong. Fair enough. 150 million people have been killed since 2000. Oh, yes, this was Joe Biden. 150 million people have been killed since 2007 when Bernie voted to exempt the gun manufacturers from liability, more than all of the wars, including Vietnam. Biden bungled the gun death statistic, though that may have been apparent to viewers given the U.S. population of just over 300 million. A spokesman said he meant to say 150,000 deaths, not 150 million. Biden was referring to a figure just for homicides, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The figure for all gun deaths in the U.S. since 2007 is about 450,000, which is true. And I want you to notice that. Biden was referring just to homicides at when he tried to say 150,000. The total is 450,000. That other 300,000 in there, 2/3 of those gun deaths, where they so much love to talk about gun violence, because he was switching back and forth between which numbers he's using. Because at one point he said 100 people a day from gun violence die. Now, if you do that up for the last 13 years, that comes to about 450,000. So in that case, he was using the full number. When he jumps to when he actually says 150 million, where he meant 150,000, he's just using the homicide numbers. And there's a reason they do that. They use the suicide statistics as well, because Democrats want you to hang yourself instead of shooting. Democrats have a long history with hangings, and they really, really like them. Moving on. Sanders did vote to exempt gun manufacturers from liability lawsuits, a vote that Sanders said Tuesday was a bad vote. See, I thought that's what he said. Let's talk about Medicare for All. I'm sure you're familiar with the new study that just came out of Yale University, published in the Lancet magazine. And we have laid out this is a quote from Sanders, so it's not me fucking it up this time. And we have laid out options all over the place. One of the options is a 7.5% payroll tax on employers, which will save them substantial sums of money. this is Bernie trying to explain how he's going to pay for Medicare for all. And this is part of what he put into his fact sheet that came out yesterday. Well, at this point, 2 days ago, about how he's going to pay for all of his programs. One of them is a 7.5% tax. Oh, excuse me. God damn it. I'm sorry, guys. Hang on. A 7.5% tax on all payroll above $1 million. So the first $1 million of a company's payroll is exempt from this tax, and then 7.5% after that. Oh man. This is what the Washington Post has to say. There have been several studies that have attempted to study the impact. God damn it. There have been several studies that have attempted to study. How about look at? Don't use the same fucking words so close together. Study the impact of a single-payer medical system, with many concluding that such a system would increase cost. Sanders is citing a new study co-written by a former Sanders advisor that claims it would reduce cost, but it has come under fire for a number of its assumptions, such as single-payer plan with paying current Medicare top rates to doctors, hospitals, and other providers. Those reimbursement rates are much lower than what private insurances pay, so it's unclear how much the rates would achieve. The filibuster, it's going to give a veto on immigration. Senate, what? I don't remember her saying that. The filibuster, it's going to give a veto on immigration. Senator Elizabeth Warren. This claim misses some context. A comprehensive immigration bill passed by the Senate in 2013 with a filibuster-proof majority, 68-32. The House, then controlled by Republicans, refused to take it up. Warren previously earned 4 Pinocchios for saying the filibuster doomed the 2013 immigration bill. At the debate, she gave modified. I don't understand what she's. Oh. Sorry, they actually quote one of her tweets down below this. And in her tweet, she said, the filibuster is going to give a veto to the gun industry, a veto to the oil industry, a veto on immigration. If we want to make progress, it's time to end the filibuster. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So as this points out, it passed the Senate. There was no filibuster. They didn't need it because the House said, fuck it. We're not dealing with this. 500,000 people tonight are sleeping out on the street, including 30,000 veterans. Yeah, this was Bernie's opening statement, which they weren't given a chance to give opening statements. They jumped right in on questions. And this might have been his second answer, maybe his third, but over the course of Bernie's first 5 answers, he gave pretty much his entire campaign speech. And part of it is that, yes, there's all these people who are homeless and all these people who are starving and all these people who have to work second jobs and all these people who work paycheck to paycheck and all of these people who, if they just let us teach them how to read, we could make sure they had medical care and we'd beat them and kill them, and then we'd have less people and that wouldn't have to have many people to pay for. I may have added on to that a little bit. This is a favorite line of Sanders, but the way he frames it is exaggerated. His numbers come from a single night survey done by the Department of Housing and Urban Development to measure the number of homeless people. For a single night in January 2019, the estimate was that 568,000 people are homeless. But that report also says that 2/3, nearly 360,000, were in emergency shelters or transitional housing programs. The other 210,000 were unsheltered, i.e. on the street, as Sanders put it. The number has been trending down over the past decade. It was 650,000 in 2007. As for veterans, the report says the number of veterans experiencing homelessness has been cut in half since 2009. Fewer than 15,000 veterans were unsheltered. You're not going to tell me Bernie Sanders exaggerated some shit and tried to make people feel bad so that we pay a whole bunch of money for programs we don't need, are you? I feel like that would be completely out of character for the man. I feel like Bernie Sanders would never lie to us like that. And yeah, 1984, you're right. You can't help most of them. And maybe it's not even most of them. A lot of them. There are a lot of them you can't help. A lot of these people have dependency issues. A lot of these people are just stone crazy. The ones we can help, we should be trying to help them all. Absolutely. But blaming it on was it the first? I think it was the first question as I think back of it, because Bernie Sanders was specifically asked, this economy is going really strong. How do you get up there and make arguments against it? And Bernie did what he does every time. In fact, before he could answer, I started to answer for him. His answer was, the economy's doing great if you're rich. And nobody else has got any money. That's his answer every time. This has been the Democrat talking point since the debate started. And it's what they're trying to run with, because you can't run against Trump's economy. It's running too well. Even if you want to give credit to Barack Obama, you have to admit Trump hasn't done anything to fuck it up yet. And you're going to come in there and try to change it? Probably not a good idea to run on that. And it's what Bernie's been trying to do over, especially the last maybe 4 debates. I remember the first time I heard him say it, and he may have said it before and I just wasn't paying attention, but the first debate where I paid attention and heard him say it was the very night that the numbers were released that showed that wage growth has been the greatest for the bottom level of wage earners. Theirs has grown faster than anyone else's. Bernie likes to throw out this number. What was it? Is it 586, 668? I forget. Some number of hundreds of millions or hundreds of billions of dollars that billionaires have made since this economy has gone on fire. It's like, well, what percentage of that is there of their wealth? Because wealth does just kind of accumulate if you're doing it right. If you're holding on to your wealth and you're actually trying to buy wealth, well, not buy wealth, grow wealth, you just kind of let it sit there and accumulate value. Putting in money when you can and accumulating value. And the richer you are, the more you can put in there. And so a 10%, let's say you make $100 a month and you get a 10% return on that $100, you made $10. Well, if you had $100,000 in there, it's a lot more. If you have $1 million in there, it's a lot more. If you have $1 billion in there, it's a lot more. It's still just 10% across the board. So yeah, Bernie likes to use these numbers and throw them out there. And here's why. Bernie hates rich people. Bernie hates rich people. And we got to see this during the 60-minute interview the other day. There's this great part when he's talking about where he's a kid. And we finally see what's wrong with Bernie. Bernie's a dirty communist because he wanted a toy train or something when he was a kid, and his dad told him they didn't have enough money. Now, I got to be honest, I don't know exactly what it was. I just know that at one part he's talking about how there were a lot of arguments in his house. And one of the things he specifically says is, how come we couldn't have that? He asked his dad, why can't we have that? Other people have it. One of the parts of the arguments that went on in their house is, why can't we have that? And that colored Bernie's whole life. He grew up as an envious little shitbag. And somewhere around there, as he's going into college, he learns about communism, and suddenly there's this whole plan that'll make everything equal, and you can punish the rich folks. You ever seen Bernie when he talks about the money he has now, the millions he has? He's almost ashamed of it. You can see it in his eyes. He doesn't like it. He's not giving it up, though. He's ashamed of it. He's not giving it up, though. He could have donated every dollar from his book to a charity. He could have donated every dollar from his book to the federal government. Nope. He went out and bought himself a new house. A summer camp like most people in Vermont have. Most people? Really? Or did he say a lot of people? Maybe he said a lot of people. I don't want to misquote him as most people. As a lot of people in Vermont do. Yeah. It's a summer camp, you guys. It's like where Ernest went that one year. It's a summer camp. It's not even really a house, man. Yeah. He could have given all that money away. But no. He could rent a place in. He said like a lot of people, he has a house. He has a house where he works, and he has and like a lot of people in Vermont, he has a house, a second house, or what do you call it? Summer camp, sorry. But he actually said, like a lot of people, he had a house where he works. Do you guys, how many of you in chat right now? What do we got? Almost 200 people here. I feel like this is a good sample size. Give me a 1 in chat if you have a house near you work and it's not your main residence. Give me a 1 if you have a house near your work that is not your main residence. And give me a 2 if you think Bernie's an out-of-touch commie fuck. Fuck. Yeah, we all got them houses near our work. You could rent there, Bernie. You actually could. You'd be helping the economy. You'd be helping somebody else. You could rent a house. A lot of houses are look at all them fucking twos. A lot of houses are rented by, they're not rented by rich people. You know, there's middle income folks who have little real estate things on the side. You could be helping one of those, Bernie. No, you went out and bought your own home. You know, like everybody does who lives too far away from work. My last job, I lived more than an hour and a half away from, and I drove every day, Bernie. Guess I should have wrote myself one of them books. Oh, wait, no. Bernie had 2 homes before he wrote that book. That's right. James says, I'm 14 blocks from my job. Well, see if you can buy a house a block from your job and then just stay there during the work week. Go back to your regular home 13 blocks away on the weekend. It is amazing to me. It really is. And I cannot stress how ironic I find Bernie's whole existence. And by his existence, I mean in the political world. Because the people who idolize this man, they hate old people and they hate rich people. They're for, you know, all kinds of more equality and all kinds of things that Bernie could be doing, but doesn't. And they excuse it. They excuse his hypocrisy because they have to in order to support him. But man, you get him an old man telling him he's going to pay for all their bills, and suddenly they don't mind old rich people anymore. They don't mind that at all. And look, he doesn't even have to live up to it. He can be just as stingy with his taxes as every other rich cunt out there. He could only give the bare or the absolute maximum that you can give and still get a deduction for charitable donations. Not a dollar more, not a penny more. And look, he's he just wants to help people. He's a fucking old commie who's got some envy from when he was a child. Who, if we tried to implement his plans, would bankrupt our country in record time. I think it's Polly who's recommended a couple of times Go watch that debate between Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders about these very things. There's one part of it where Ted Cruz is talking about, look, Bernie Sanders uses these numbers. Well, here's the numbers that other people are giving. One of them is that even if you go after the rich folk in the world, taking all of their money, you're not going to be able to maintain Bernie's programs for more than 6 months, maybe. Maybe you're talking about trillions of dollars. Mr. Potato said, he's a perfect example of why socialism and communism don't work. He's also the perfect example of why socialism and communism require fascism, which is another thing that Bernie supporters claim they don't like. You cannot have a democratic socialism. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a strong hand, and you have to force people into living like peasants, especially if they haven't been. We're not talking the Russian Revolution here. We're not talking about Tsar Nicholas living it up as the people are living off dirt so you can actually convince them that they're not doing well. And then, take over and become the rich people yourselves while they still live like fucking peasants. It's always funny when that happens. I think it's fun. Every one of these communist revolutions I've ever read, I laugh my ass off. I really do. It's probably not nice. But a couple of power-hungry shitbags start whipping up the population with class warfare. And they'll overthrow a government, and anybody with any money or power is murdered. As a whole new group gets money and power, and all of the little worker bees get a much harsher government to keep them from opening their hungry mouths. But don't worry, guys. It's never been tried. It's never really been tried. Gray says, socialism demands tyranny, whether it's fascism or communism, people die regardless. It's communism and fascism are not mutually exclusive. Socialism is just the light form of capitalism, of communism. Marx himself called it a stepping stone between the two. Lenin called it a stepping stone between the two. It's what it was supposed to be. You're not supposed to go straight from capitalism to communism because it can cause too many issues. You're supposed to bring socialism first so that you can get people used to it and then move them into communism. That's a very simplistic version of things, but you can go read it yourself. And but it does. It absolutely requires authoritarianism. And fascism being the easiest because you want to keep them quiet. You don't want it. They should not be allowed to speak out against the government. You shouldn't have somebody out there going, hey, I worked harder, I should make more. Because that's the kind of guy that he's going to cause some trouble. He's going to cause people to start going, yeah, I'm working harder than the guy next to me too. The fuck is this all about? Why is he getting to live as well as I am when he ain't doing shit? It's kind of the question that Elizabeth Warren was asked by that guy. He said, look, I worked my ass off and lived very thin so I could pay my daughter's college as she went. My neighbor, he just took out a bunch of fucking loans and lived high off the hog. You're going to pay off his loans. Are you going to give me my money back? And she no. Now, what do you think happens under an actual communist or socialist state with those two guys? Do you think they're both going to be working as hard as they can to help, make this beautiful utopic society? Over on the Streamlabs, thank you so much. Man, my voice is a little bit fucked up, man. I think it's because I streamed so much yesterday. Sir Wolfgang, thank you. On the bright side, there's only technically 5 communist countries left in the world. We're killing off the ideology slowly but surely. Yeah, but you got to be careful. This is one of those pendulum things. "1984 says 0 unemployment when everyone works for the government." Yeah, it works that same way with slaves, right? Mr. Clyburn of South Carolina. Oh, I wish somebody would have asked one of the candidates about that tonight. Your colleague, Mr. Clyburn, says that slaves had 0% unemployment. Do you agree with that? Of course, they'd never do that. Democratic socialism is going to give you a $15 minimum wage. It's also going to give you a $15 maximum wage. You're not wrong, P-Dog. It is funny to watch them all suck up to the unions, though. I haven't seen this much suck up to unions in a long time. Unions have pretty much died. People got smart and they're like, yeah, we don't have much of a need for unions anymore. So, I mean, union membership is like fucking laughably low. They don't have much political sway at all anymore. And these Democrats are suck. Bernie Sanders says that he's going to double union membership. What did he say in the first year? Like, how are you going to do that? You're going to force people back into unions? So he's going to go after these right to work. You're not going to be able to. Unions used to, the way unions got so big is you were forced to join them. If there was a union at your shop, you were forced to join it, whether you wanted to or not. And then it was like, look, okay, you don't have to participate, but you still have to give them your money. Because the idea was, look, hey, they fought for you. Fuck them. Let me go make my own contract with the boss. How about that? I'll tell my boss, we'll work it out so that I make less than they're technically paying you guys, but that he's paying me technically less because we're gonna make a deal for what would be the union dues. But yeah, you used to be forced into unions, and as soon as they started letting people not be forced into it, union membership plummeted. Because for the most part, we don't need unions anymore. I'm still trying to think of something we need them for. But a lot of the things unions take credit for, they didn't even do. 40-hour work week and all that was all going on without unions. They jumped on the back of that shit as it was being passed. Safety regulations, all of that was all coming without unions. Maybe they helped speed it up. But a lot of it was already coming. You can go look this up. This is not just me. Go look up the fucking history. They jumped on the back of these popular things and claimed credit for them. and then they got the Department of Labor hands down these rules that say unions can say whatever they want about the company you're working for. The company you're working for is not allowed to lie about a union. Now, I don't have a problem with they're not allowed to lie about a union, but unions are absolutely allowed to lie about the companies that the people work for. Tell any lie they want. And it's funny because it's almost as though the system was set up for these guys by the shitbag Democrats that they put into power. They were. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, so I'm really curious on how he's going to force people into unions. But then again, I'm curious on how he's going to force people into 20 million jobs building green energy that we don't have the people for. I'm not saying we don't have 20 million people who wouldn't like a job. I'm saying we have 20 million people, some of whom who would like a job, who have no experience or want to do any of these jobs that he wants done. And then what happens, Bernie? How do you get your green utopic society when you don't have the workers to build this crap you want to build? And at the same time, you're putting people out of work in the oil industry. How many of your local gas stations would still be open if it wasn't for gas? Don't worry, man. They're going to have quick charge battery stations. How long does it take to charge up a car that has to be plugged in? I don't even know. I don't have one of those I like women. How long does it take to charge one of those? I mean, if you have one, because don't they have the ones that the hybrid cars where you can drive for a while and flip on your gas? It helps recharge the batteries, and you can turn off the gas and go on the battery for a while. Very 6 hours. That's a long ass. That's a long ass car ride, I guess. What's going to happen to the? You're not just talking about taking out gas companies, Bernie. I'm just shocked at all that. Part of his program for making things cheaper in the medical field is by making it so administrators don't have a job anymore. I'm noticing I'm getting donations, but now it won't load. There we go. Dragon Mage, thank you. I think it says something when countries always collapse before communism can reach its final stage, which is supposed to be the abolishment of the state. And thank you so much. And thank you, Frank. I'm in a pretty good sized union and in favor of unions in a lot of scenarios. The wife of a guy in my shop was running for mayor of Philly as a Republican. He was working down at the Union Hall at the time. They still back the Democrat. I still don't get why. Really, you don't? Come on, Frank. You know why they did it. Because they're Democrats. They have to. Has there ever been a union that mostly backed Republicans? I'm being serious here. I don't know. I can't think of any. Cameron says with graphene, is that how you say it? Graphene battery technology, charging and charge dissipation. God bless. That was hard for me to say. Dissipation problems are being resolved. Look, as I said, I'm all for battery technology for cars. If we can find a way to clean up the planet, I'm fine with it. But you got to think about what you're doing long term. You're not just talking about gas stations and the oil rigs. And the funny part is a lot of the drilling is still going to have to go on. You guys know that, right? A lot of the shit's still going to have to go on because we need a shit ton of plastic in our world. We use a shit ton of plastic in our world. You know where plastic comes from? Plastic is a petroleum product. It's oil, for fuck's sake. Yeah, the batteries aren't clean. There's a lot of waste. A lot of those batteries aren't recyclable either. You just got to kind of bury them in the trash. Ask one of the indoctrinated college kids if they're willing for everyone to get a C grade. I know, right? Dangerous as the plastic tree. Yeah. Kill oil. That's the end of plastics and computers. Yep. But don't worry, guys. It's only emissions. We only have to worry about emissions. So I get tired. I really do of some of just the talking points. Some of the talking points they throw out over and over. But as I was saying with Bernie's going to, by reducing he's basically going to get rid of all insurance companies. Hold that thought for a second. All medical insurance companies. Hold that thought for a second. He's going to make it so hospitals need a butt ton, hospitals and doctor's office need a butt ton less administrators to take care of dealing with insurance paperwork. That's going to save everybody money, you guys. And it will. It would. It would save a whole bunch of them. So now you've just fired off the entirety of medical insurance workers, including agents and customer care representatives, and collapsing that part of the industry, which is going to hit all insurance industries. They tend to work together as a company. They're separate units, but it's going to hit the entire company. You're going to have a whole bunch of people fired, from hospitals, a whole bunch of people fired from doctors' offices. But it's okay, man. It's going to make everything cheaper and it'll run better. And here's my favorite part, because it'll all be done by the government. You'll only have one person who has to deal with the government or two people have to deal with the government. Because dealing with the government is quick and easy. Oh, God. Yeah, they can have a whole bunch of people who need to learn to code, Anthony. Whole bunch of people. Frank, thank you. Having the wife of a messenger as the mayor when negotiating the contract, which for us involves the city and state to some extent, would have been majorly beneficial, though, and the incumbent Democrat had given us the shaft on a previous negotiation. Frank, I understand what you're saying there, but you are missing the point. You are missing the point. You said you were big on union. You're positive on unions. That's fine. But think about what you just said and ask yourself, did your union have your best interest at heart there? Or did they do what helped the Democrats? The people who run unions typically, I'm not going to say hashtag not all, because I don't know the people who run your union. I'm very negative on unions, if you couldn't tell. They serve themselves and they serve Democratic Party. That's who they serve. They don't serve their workers. Do you remember the UPS strike? Do you guys remember that? It was because there weren't enough part-time people, or the part-time people weren't allowed to be full-time. So in their deal after the strike, the deal they made got a whole bunch of those part-time workers made full-time, and a whole bunch of full-time workers got fired. They ended up with less full-time workers over it. Cryptic, thank you. I couldn't even get an appointment with the VA. Don't worry, Cryptic. Don't worry, Cryptic. It's all going to be, don't worry. It's, I love how Bernie said it's not a government takeover of healthcare. His wording is this, see, he's technically, he's only going to be taking over insurance, not healthcare. But here's the rub. As was pointed out in that article earlier, Bernie's insurance savings, I'm using air quotes here, come from giving doctors the same reimbursement and hospitals the same reimbursement that Medicare or Medicaid, Medicare, whichever, gives doctors and hospitals now, which is vastly reduced from what they normally charge. So Bernie's just going to go in there and go, look, normally for a patient, you get $150 or $100. We'll just do $100 per visit. We're only going to give you $35. The doctor's going to be like, but I need more than that to make my business work and pay back my student loans, because it takes a whole shit ton of money to become a doctor. Bernie's like, sorry, $35. And he goes, well, I can't pay my nurses with this. Sorry, $35. I can't pay the building rent with this. Sorry, $35. And your hospital, like, okay, this, you would normally charge somebody $25,000 for this surgery. We're going to give you $4,000. And the hospital's like, whoa, we can't keep the lights on with that. Sorry, $4,000. We can't keep it sterile with that. Sorry, $4,000. We can't have a house cleaning staff with that. Sorry, $4,000. Good luck with your new third world medicine. Thank you, Snubber. Ranting Monkey's right. My union tries to shame us into Dems every election. Well, that's a big part of what ended up being the union buster of the United States. It started with people who were like, you cannot spend, look, I have to give you my money, but you can't spend any of it on politics. And they're like, what? Yes, we can. Of course we can. And the courts came in and go, no. This money is supposed to be for what you're doing to negotiate with their boss for them. No, if they don't want it going to politics, you can't do that. That's compelled speech. And that was the start of it. That was the start of the domino. Anyhow. Zombie Teddy says, sounds like the mob, doesn't it? That's how this works. It's how it works. The savings, look, technically, he's correct. They won't be taking over healthcare. They're going to be taking over insurance. Just like Obamacare didn't take over healthcare. It took over insurance, and it didn't take it over. It added a bunch and gave some to the market, blah, blah, blah. You guys know. But it was about insurance. It wasn't about healthcare. What Bernie's suggesting is that he's going to set the rules for what these guys get. But he's not technically taking it over. So it's not technically taking over doctors and hospitals. They still get to be their own bosses. Man. It's entirely disingenuous. It's entirely disingenuous. It's like my military healthcare only paid $4,000 on a $147,000 surgery. Fuck. Yeah. I've been quite lucky with the insurance we've had. Don't get me wrong. We have paid a shit ton of money to doctors. Do you know how much an MRI is? I do. Yeah, one year we hit our annual deductible within the first month and a half because I had 3 MRIs. But that actually turned out to be nice because I had 7 that year. Not too bad. Yeah. But the DMV is government run, and that works so well, right? Oh, man. Yeah. I just wish these assholes at these debates would ask substantive questions. I really do. That first question to Bernie was a pretty good question. The economy's running well. How do you sell yourself when the economy is running so well? And the problem was he was just allowed to answer it. The question was fine, but he was just allowed to answer. I feel like there should be somebody with a paintball gun. Standing very, you ever been shot with a paintball? That shit hurts. Somebody with a paintball gun standing very close to them. And if they start answering without actually answering the question, they get shot in the back repeatedly until they start answering correctly. I'm tired of them just getting away with fucking lying up there. I guess the only part that makes me happy is I don't have to watch it from 2 parties this year. Just get up there and answer a fucking question. Be honest. Oh, God. Oh, thank you so much. Over on the Streamlabs, so Wolfgang, thank you. In my senior year of high school, my economics teacher explained how the teachers union in our school worked, and he had to do it with his door closed and in a whisper. If unions can have that kind of power over someone, what the fuck is the point of them? I think I've railed enough against them. I don't find them to be helpful, and I think they're detrimental to workers. I'm going to leave it at that, but I get what you're saying. Drew W., thank you. They never take into account that people go see the doctor far more often when they don't have to pay for it. You know, Drew, that's another thing. We saw that with Obamacare. There were a lot of people with Obamacare who actually got fucked in the beginning of it because they'd never had insurance before, or they'd never had private insurance before. And so they get this insurance and I can go to the doctor for free now. And they'd go in there because they had the sniffles and come out with a $200 bill. And they're like, wait, I have insurance. Why am I paying for this? Which, by the way, I still think Obamacare was set up specifically to bring us to single payer. It was supposed to be a shitty enough system that people finally said, yes, you guys take it over. It's the only explanation I can come up with. I know that sounds very conspiratorial, but when you consider it's also been alleged in public documents that the Obama administration purposefully gave guns to cartels, hoping they would shoot an American so that Americans would rise up against guns, I don't think it's as far-fetched. Thank you, Frank. I get why unions used to vote Dem. They used to claim to be for the workers. Now both parties are pretty anti-union. Don't get me wrong. I know there are bad points of unions and bad unions. I still find it in some scenarios to be for the good. Pens Benis. Pens Benis. Oh, pension and benefits. I get you. I understand that, but for me personally, I'm not somebody who's ever had a problem saying what I mean and arguing for myself. I've always preferred to argue for myself. I don't want somebody else doing it. I guess when it comes to pensions and benefits, that's a little harder to deal with. But I'd rather argue for more money and then be able to pay for the pension and benefits myself than have to worry about some fat dude who's never actually held a job but runs the union, deciding what's best for me. And I know you guys vote on stuff, but let's be honest. I mean, you vote on what he tells you guys get to vote on, right? Wait, they thought if Americans got killed, we'd turn our guns in? That is some next level dumbassery. Mr. Tardy, that is an allegation. I don't remember if they actually ever found documents to that effect. I know Eric Holder absolutely refused to turn over documents that were in relation to that. Remember all those Democrats who were bitching that Trump wouldn't turn over documents? Yeah, they didn't have any problem with Eric Holder doing this. Eric Holder, the fucking attorney general, not doing the same thing. And him and Obama just going, yeah, we're not cooperating at all on Fast and Furious. It's done. It's over. It was nothing. But yeah, they were trying to allegedly, I got to say allegedly, I don't want to, YouTube doesn't allow conspiracy theories, you guys. So I got to say allegedly. They were hoping to drum up anti-gun sentiment by having cartels increase gun violence and us be going, oh my God, I can't believe all the gun violence is happening. Cryptic, thank you. I refused to join a union when I worked at DOI. I don't look, if somebody wants to join a union, good on them. If I'm given the choice, I'm not going to. That's just me. BG, I think big unions are like big business and big government. The bigger they are, the more corruption sets in. Small local unions are great, but bigger than that. Again, I've never worked anywhere where I would want a union representing me. And that goes for the machine shop I worked in. That goes for Walmart even. Yeah, Walmart loved me because I came in and when they made us watch our anti-union video. Okay, it's not anti-union. You can't call it that. What is it? It's why you're better off without a union, something like that. Because you can't be openly anti-union as a company. You have to, you can make arguments for your employees on how you'd be better off without one. But when I saw that, I'm like cheering, like, yeah, get them. Like, fuck unions. Like, are you okay, Frank? Like, yeah, I'm fine. Can I watch that again? I fucking love that video. I think they should have been meaner in it. Where was that one I wanted to? 1984 says, not a conspiracy. Again, I am not as up on where to find the documents and stuff. I do know that the Holder Justice Department kept everything and refused to testify any more than they already had. They actually did that. Eric Holder was a shitty, corrupt AG, and that is not a conspiracy theory. That is opinion based on fact. And all of these shitbags, your Nancy Pelosi's, your Chuck Schumer's, your Adam Schiff's, all of these people who were in Congress at the time who didn't say fucking boo about it and then pretended like they were so upset that Donald Trump was like, I'm not giving you those documents. They can each line up and kiss my entire ass. You fucking lying little douchebags. And when you consider what the two differences were, you're literally talking about in one case, Donald Trump calling the Ukraine and going, "We want you to look into invest." He asked for an investigation, not a conclusion. So let's say that every charge against Trump is right, absolutely correct. He absolutely quid pro quoed this shit. Okay. He did not ask for a conclusion. He asked for an investigation, an announcement of an investigation. So even with that, he wasn't asking for anything illegal. Eric Holder. Fast and Furious happened, guys. It happened. And a Border Patrol agent and a DEA agent. There was, I know Border Patrol and a DEA agent as well, right? Were killed. 2 Americans were killed by guns we sold to fucking drug cartels. And Nancy Pelosi, she had no problem with Eric Holder going, "Yeah, we're not giving you any more documents. We're not talking about this anymore." She was like, "Good for you. Good for you." No problem with that. Of the two, which one seems like a bigger crime? Which one seems like a bigger crime? Which one seems like it matters a little bit more? Drew, thank you. Did they talk about coronavirus last night? Very, 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 very little. I expected them to launch straight into the Donald Trump fired all the people who work for CDC, because you'd get that opinion if you're that impression. If you look at Twitter, everybody, Donald, because I think it was Chucky Schumer tweeted out that Donald Trump had gotten rid of CDC representatives at the White House or whatever. Okay, let's say he did. Didn't cause corona. Doesn't stop discussions from happening. But that I remember they didn't talk about it very much, Drew. It really doesn't. Compared to a fucking cash pallet or a fucking pallet of cash for Iran. I know 1984, there are so many things that happened in the Obama administration that when you look at them and then you look at what Trump was impeached for, it's impossible not to just shake your head in disgust. Whether we're talking about Fast and Furious or the intentional murder of an American citizen, he's on the battlefield. He's still an American citizen. You knew where he was. This wasn't in the heat of battle. He ended up being killed. You purposefully targeted this man and killed him. You knew he was in there. That is a blatant violation of the Constitution. It really is. I don't have any love for the dude who died. I'm quite happy that he's dead. I'll be honest with you. They should have brought him home and tried his ass for treason and hung him in the town square. I think that would have been more fitting. But yeah, Anthony Vogel, the no scandal Obama administration. No scandals. Yeah, there's no scandals because you shitbags just buried it all. Buried it all. The IRS thing. That IRS thing should have gotten Obama kicked out of fucking office. And we know that it was lie after lie after lie with that. They started off by planting a question with the media. They planted a question with the media, and the woman who was asking the question had no fucking idea what she was asking. Lois Lerner gets up there to give a press conference for the IRS. Excuse me, is it true that you guys are targeting some Republicans? Yes, yeah, it was one small office in Cincinnati, just one guy who was doing it. And it turns out, no, this was an actual policy. It was all over the place. It wasn't just one dude, one guy in Cincinnati. Yeah. Drew says Republicans didn't want to impeach the first black president. And I get that. I mean, optics is a thing, whether you like it or not. But what happened there? I mean, We almost had to impeach the next president to bring some kind of law and order back to the presidency, because Obama was allowed to get rid of things that should have gotten him impeached and then thrown in prison. You want to talk about abuse of power? The IRS scandal? Really? Fast and Furious? Really? Pallets of cash to Iran in the middle of the fucking night? Really? Trading away, what was it, 5 known terrorists for one AWOL motherfucker? Really? It's not that I'm saying that I agree with Donald Trump or like what Donald Trump has done. You guys have set the bar so fucking low. You have no right to bitch ever. Ah, man. Why was Obama able to get away with all he did, but Trump gets impeached over a nothing thing? Well, Zombie, it's because impeachment, whether they want to believe, or despite the somber crap you heard, it's so somber. It's such a somber moment. It's an innately political thing. It's an innately political beast. And as long as you control the House, you control impeachment. All you got to do is find something, anything. You can blow it up as big as you need to. And when you have a complicit press who has shown open hostility for the president, makes it really easy. Yes, those somber commemorative pens in gold inlaid pens. And fucking cunts. And did you guys ever see the video of them walking the articles of impeachment over? It's like 12 of them walking, and they're all trying not to skip. It is the most awkward looking group of people walking I've ever seen. They're 2 by 2, so they're in rows, so everybody gets their FaceTime. Like, oh, for fuck's sake. All you need is one guy to run it over there real quick. Like, the gold is still drying. Any of those pens on eBay yet? Oh no, those people are going to keep those forever. You won't see those on eBay until one of those guys loses office and turns to drugs and needs to sell it. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Schiff doesn't have his. And you know, you can get those collector's boxes for like footballs and baseballs. I'm sure he's got a little display case for his pen sitting around on his fucking desk. He's a fucking shitbag. It's because they had no case monkey. All they had was theatrics. Yeah. That's what the whole thing was about. And then, Nancy Pelosi took more than a month to get those articles pushed over there. And then she took an extra vote she didn't have to push. We just wanted to make sure everybody agreed to what they already agreed to. That's not how it works, Nancy. But no, I have to take that vote. No, you really don't. The articles of impeachment have been passed. They just need taken over there. That's it. You don't have to decide on your managers before you take it over there. Fuck are you talking about? That's not how any of this works. But theatrics, yeah. She had to have the show trial, man. Yeah. Seriously, for the most part, I hope the House goes red. Not that I believe any Democratic congressperson is actually going to live up to what they run on, because for some reason we have a whole fucking country of rhinos. They say all the right things when it's time to get elected, and then they get in there and they're a bunch of cowards, is the word. Bunch of fucking cowards. But at least then I know I don't have to worry about fucking impeachment nonsense again. If the Democrats win the House again, I said before, they had one chance at impeachment. If they keep the House in 2020, I wouldn't be surprised to see another impeachment come down. Then they could say he's the first president who's been impeached twice, which I don't think they'll realize how stupid it sounds. But I don't see them just, getting back to actually doing their fucking job. It's just not something I see coming from them. They seem far more interested in the theatrics of it. And in this first one, a large part of that was because we were going into an election year. They desperately wanted to get rid of Trump. For all this talk about how everybody's afraid, or that Trump's afraid of everybody, they are all desperately afraid of Trump. They don't think they can beat him either. There's a reason you see the Democrats right now, and all of them on the stage tonight, even Elizabeth fucking Warren, who stole her platform from Bernie. All of them are going, we can't hire him. He cannot be our nominee. Trump is going to kick the shit out of him. And it's going to be really hard to write the articles the next day about how progressive the country is when Bernie Sanders takes the biggest ass whipping since Walter Mondale. I mean, that was the last time we had a major ass kicking in a presidential election. We've had big electoral ones, but when you're talking straight up, straight vote, the popular vote, Mondale's the standard right now. If Bernie is the nominee, does Florida vote red? Yes. Most of the country will vote red. New York and California will still go blue. You'll have parts of the upper Northwest that still go blue. Parts of the upper Northeast still go blue. And then pretty much everywhere else will go red. You won't have the Reagan Revolution kind of red, because California right now is so overrun with goddamn hippies that they would vote for Hitler himself if he ran as a Democrat. Swear to God, they would. They'd be like, look. Those Jews were asking for it. They would find a way. Look at how they found a way to dismiss. I was actually arguing tonight because somebody's like, look, Bernie, I mean, he didn't really support Castro. All right. Bernie was asked, why didn't the people overthrow Castro? Why didn't they rise up with the people of the United States and overthrow Castro? And his answer was, because he taught their children to read. He didn't say, I don't know, there's a couple of good things he did, but the way he treated them, you would think they would still overthrow him. He didn't say, well, the people who stood against Castro were murdered or thrown into horrific work camps until they worked themselves to death. Their families, what little they had was taken from them. No, none of that. Well, probably because they could read now. I mean, that reading thing is really good. Really good. That was his answer. He couldn't think of why they should. Razor Fist got taken down midstream due to YouTube being silly. Hey, Deckfish, how you doing, man? Razor Fist got taken down because of a strange rule on YouTube. It's one I got hit with during the first debate of the primary season. There's a rule on YouTube. It's different than any other copyright rule. If you are live streaming a live event, you are supposed to get a warning, which so far I've never heard of them actually giving anybody one. And if you don't take your stream down, if you don't stop your stream immediately, then they will take your stream down and you lose the right to stream for 3 months. There is no appeal. There is no chance to counterclaim. It is It is a completely broken usage of fair use. It doesn't rely on the law at all. It's a YouTube rule that they claim is kind of based on the law. But yeah, so what you have to do in that time, if you see, I was lucky. I got real lucky. A lot of people got hit the day that I did, and CNN did the first town hall or the first debate. The day after the debate, they released it. So far, I've never heard of anybody and any other releases for when this happens, but it has to be released by the company. Over on the Streamlabs, thank you so much, James Colley. Monkey, you're forgetting that New York and California is giving their electoral votes to the winner of the popular vote. So those two states could go red. That is true. But I'm still counting them as though, they'd be blue if they voted blue. How about this, James? Popularity wise, they would still be blue. But you're right. I did forget about that. That rule on YouTube is absolutely bullshit. And we've had people go, I can tell you how to do it so you don't get in trouble. Razorfist didn't get in trouble several of the times he's done it. And you can fly under the radar. There's people who've done it before, and then they get hit the next time. So I'm just not willing to do it or try it with my channel because I care about my channel. So when we do it now, we just do the audio and we tell people where they can watch the link and do our best to give you cues to sync it up with us. Yeah, it is a truly grotesque rule from YouTube. And I got into because we made it about an hour into the stream that night. And I spent the rest of that night actually arguing with a guy from YouTube and pointing out his own fucking policies to him. And when I pointed it out, he goes, well, that's not really a policy. That's more of a guideline. Like, you son of a bitch. Like, you didn't give me the warning that your own fucking policy says you would have given me, or I would have stopped. I'd have taken it down. And at first he told me, no, we did. I'm like, no, you didn't. And I'm guessing he went and checked. And well, the warning is more of a guideline. Like, no, motherfucker, it's in the policy you sent me. So yeah, I argued with him for like an hour, and it's like, well, fuck. That was the night Shoe on Head got hit. There were a couple of other big people who got hit that night. And the next day, about an hour before we went live, I finally got it back. So I think it's to prevent simulcasting copyrighted events like NFL games since 1984. It is. Things like the NFL have gotten away with this shit for a long time. You can't talk about, you can't even talk. You're not even supposed to talk about NFL games. Give descriptions of NFL games without their express written consent, which is fucking retarded. You broadcast that shit on national television to tell me that I can't even talk about it. Suck my nuts. I get not showing it, but you should be able to at least show a bit of it if you're commenting on it, because that's fair use. And in the case of like with a debate, especially with the debates, this is important to our election. And so many of the debates so far have been locked behind paywalls, which is bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. The people deserve to see this shit. It's our nation that's being decided here. These are your possible contenders, your possible candidates. You're like, no, you have to have CNN, or you got to go watch it on CNN. No, go fuck you. All of this shit should be on, in my opinion, just on public television. But they make these deals with the DNC, and then they get, fat. I wonder how much the commercials were for this one, because the last one was like the most watched debate in a long time. And after that, I'm figuring this one probably was closer. maybe even beat it. But I get the idea that, look, you shouldn't be able to do it directly live to simulcast it, and that's fine. But if you're doing like we do, where you're doing direct commentary on it, fair use should still apply. And at the very least, there should be a mechanism for appeal, and there should be a mechanism for counterclaim. But anyhow, oh wow, we've been going for 2 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up because I don't know if you can hear my voice, but man, my voice is scratchy. I don't know if I'll do a game stream or not. I think I'm going to go lay down. I really want to play, but my voice, it needs a break. Yeah, I know. Ask Mike Bloomberg about the commercials. He had a few during there, apparently. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming and hanging out. You guys are awesome. Thanks for listening to me ramble about politics all night. That happens on nights where there's a debate. I could probably keep going just because no, random. I didn't say, can you hear my voice? Can you hear it in my voice? Well, can you hear how my voice sounds? I'm sorry. I know I got to use the smaller words for you, my friend. I'll try harder next time. He's always trying to fuck with me. But thank you guys for coming to hang out. Thank you so much for the donations. You guys are awesome. And tonight is, what is this, Wednesday? It's hump day. Yeah, we'll be on my channel tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time for Lords of the Night, back to a normal show after a debate show. So please come hang out. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys. My voice.